Anything that's basically not fraud that you've committed before. And even if you have been convicted of fraud, we could also explain that away. And if there's any questions, you go before the board and the board will usually approve your applications.
One commonly asked question is, will my background stop me from getting a license? This is something that comes up all the time. Obviously, JD, who's our licensing expert, he gets that question all the time. But how would you answer that question for someone who's coming to you for some application help?
Absolutely. So part of the application requires you to put your fingerprints in the system and they send it out to the state. Now, anything that anyone has been arrested on will show up, but luckily in the application, there's a section where you could, explain what happened during your arrest or anything like that. And then as you could be very, very thorough, we help you out with that explanation as well. And if you're not on probation, you can qualify to get a license. What the state is looking for is that you have a good moral character. What does this mean? Anything that's basically not fraud that you've committed before. And even if you have been convicted of fraud, we could also explain that away. And if there's any questions, you go before the board and the board will usually approve your application. So, it doesn't matter if you have a criminal background. That's a whole section on the application to explain that to the state. And for the most part, they approve it. That, it's not really something that hinders your application. Now, if you take the exam and let's say you're still on probation, your exam is valid for 4 years in the construction related field and then 3 years for your electrical. So even if you are currently dealing with a situation, you could still take your test and study for your test and then get to the application part afterwards. It'll still be valid.
And along the same line, another commonly asked question would be, will bad credit stop me from getting a license? That's a very common question for a lot of things. Bad credit being something that many people deal with in the United States. So how much will that affect the license process?
Okay, so in the application, most of the applications right in the beginning, there's a checklist. And in the bottom, it gives you an opportunity to check off, any bankruptcies, liens, things like that. You could provide paperwork with your application explaining that. Even if you're in the middle of it, you just have to show them that you're dealing with it. And if your credit score is less than 660, then absolutely you could get a bond. The bond could be, depending on your application, anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000. And if you have a lower score of a 650 or lower, you could get a bond and you could take our financial course and that'll be just fine. That's not going to be a problem if you have bad credit. We just have to show that you're working towards getting better credit, and then the bond assures that you'll be whole if something were to happen.